In 2025, tensions between the United States and Venezuela escalated rapidly, beginning on January 21st when President Donald Trump signed sweeping executive orders declaring illegal immigration a national emergency and designating criminal cartels as terrorist organizations.
Cartels are now going to be seen as foreign terror organizations. Would you think about ordering U.S. Special Forces into Mexico to take them out?
Could happen. Stranger things have happened.
By August 8th, the U.S. dramatically increased pressure, with Attorney General Pam Bondi announcing the reward for Nicolas Maduro's arrest had been doubled to $50 million.
Today, the Department of Justice and State Department are announcing a historic $50 million reward for information leading to the arrest of Nicolas Maduro. Maduro uses foreign terrorist organizations like TDA, Sinaloa, and Cartel of the Suns to bring deadly drugs and violence into our country.
The Justice Department claimed Maduro was using groups like Tren de Aragua and the Cartel de los Soles to flood the United States with deadly drugs. Caracas responded furiously. Defense Minister Vladimir Padrino Lopez called the bounty an illegal act of interference and a violation of international law. 2 weeks later, hundreds of Venezuelans answered President Maduro's call to join the civilian militia, citing the need to defend sovereignty against possible foreign intervention. Maduro accused Washington of reviving gunboat diplomacy after the U.S. deployed additional warships, including a nuclear-powered submarine, to the southern Caribbean.
Nuestra diplomacia no es la diplomacia de las cañoneras, de las amenazas, porque el mundo no puede ser el mundo otra vez de hace 100 años, la diplomacia de las cañoneras. Tengo tantos cañones, tantos barcos y te los pongo al frente. Y tú te rindes. O haces lo que a mí me da la gana que tú hagas. No, eso se acabó.
The naval buildup continued, with U.S. warships visibly positioning themselves across the region. On September 2nd, the U.S. military carried out its first publicly acknowledged lethal strike on a vessel in international waters, claiming it was carrying drugs and linked to Tren de Aragua terrorists. President Trump personally confirmed the strike on social media, declaring that 11 narco-terrorists had been killed and warning others to beware. The following day, Secretary of State Marco Rubio made clear the campaign would continue, stating the days of narco-terrorists flooding America with poison were over.
The President of the United States is going to wage war on narco-terrorist organizations. This one was operating in international waters, headed towards the United States to flood our country with poison, and under President Trump, those days are over.
Would you like to see regime change in Venezuela?
Well, we're not talking about that, but we are talking about the fact that you had an election which was a very strange election.
President Trump pushed back against regime change accusations, insisting the focus remained on stopping drugs, though he called Venezuela's recent election very strange. In response, Maduro ordered military, police, and civilian forces to man 284 defensive positions across the country. Large-scale military drills were launched on Venezuela's Caribbean island of La Orquilla, described by Caracas as purely defensive. At the same time, the U.S. intensified its own training and deployments in the Caribbean and Puerto Rico. Throughout September and early October, the U.S. conducted at least 3 more strikes on suspected drug vessels, killing additional alleged narco-terrorists. The Pentagon described each operation as targeting vessels carrying illicit narcotics bound for the United States. By mid-October, President Trump openly confirmed the CIA was conducting covert operations inside Venezuela to disrupt drug networks.
And a lot of the Venezuelan drugs come in through the sea, so you get to see that. But we're going to stop them by land also.
Maduro denounced what he called repeated attempts at CIA-sponsored coups in Latin America.
He has offered everything. He's offered everything. You're right. You know why? Because he doesn't want to fuck around with the United States.
In blunt remarks, President Trump warned that Nicolas Maduro knew better than to challenge the United States directly. Days later, Trump announced the destruction of a large drug-carrying submarine, claiming it was loaded with fentanyl and that the strike prevented thousands of American deaths. Venezuela responded by announcing the deployment of more than 5,000 advanced Igla-S anti-aircraft systems at strategic locations nationwide.
Genial, que sí se puede. Y Venezuela tiene nada más y nada menos que 5,000 iglas en los puestos claves de la defensa antiaérea para garantizar ¿qué? La paz, la estabilidad, la tranquilidad de nuestro pueblo. Más de 5,000.
Yet the following day, Maduro sent a direct message of peace, repeating in English, "No war, just peace, forever."
Not war, not war, not war. Just peace, just peace, just peace, forever, forever, forever. Peace forever.
Despite the plea, the U.S. dramatically escalated by deploying the USS Gerald R. Ford carrier strike group to the region. President Trump publicly denied considering strikes on Venezuelan soil.
No. No, it's not true.
Analysts noted that any move to hit targets inside Venezuela could fracture the Venezuelan armed forces and push them toward supporting a democratic transition.
And that their future is not with Maduro, that their future is actually with the democratic transition, that they've never been the Venezuelan armed forces. It should be noted, the modern Venezuelan armed forces have never been in conflict before.
On this vote, the yeas are 49, the nays are 51, and the motion is not agreed to.
On November 6th, Senate Republicans voted down a resolution that would have required congressional approval for military action against Venezuela. In response, Maduro formalized a national defense framework, integrating civilian and military forces. The new legal framework consolidated command structures for national security. New imagery showed the Ford carrier group fully operational in the Western Atlantic, with Marines conducting live-fire exercises nearby. President Trump told reporters a decision on further action could come soon.
We made a lot of progress with Venezuela in terms of stopping drugs from pouring in. But we have a Mexico problem, we have a Colombia problem.
¿Qué dice el pueblo de Estados Unidos?
Maduro appealed directly to the American people, asking whether they wanted another endless war or a new Gaza in South America.
¿Quieren una nueva Afganistán? ¿Quieren de nuevo Vietnam? ¿Quieren Libia otra vez? O lo que es peor, ¿quieren una nueva Gaza en Sudamérica?
That same day, the U.S. military released video of yet another lethal strike on a suspected smuggling vessel in the Caribbean. The State Department then formally designated the Venezuela-based Cartel de los Soles a foreign terrorist organization, effective November 24th. Hours later, President Trump revealed that talks with Maduro were under consideration.
We may be having some discussions with Maduro, and we'll see how that turns out. They would like to talk.
Maduro quickly responded that Venezuela was open to direct, face-to-face dialogue.
Face to face, cara a cara, sin ningún problema.
Yet the next day, Trump refused to rule out putting American boots on the ground, citing Venezuela's role in migration and drugs.
Ruling out U.S. troops on the ground?
No, I don't rule out that. I don't rule out anything. We just have to take care of Venezuela. They dumped hundreds of thousands of people into our country.
Maduro continued anti-war messaging, dancing to a remix of his own words and calling on Venezuelan youth to connect with American students for peace.
Please, please, please. Just peace. Just peace. Peace forever. Peace forever.
Meanwhile, advanced U.S. fighter jets and gunships were filmed operating from a reactivated base in Puerto Rico. On November 25th, Maduro led a massive civic military march in Caracas, brandishing Simón Bolívar's sword and declaring Venezuelans would give their lives if the homeland demanded it. That same day, President Trump again signaled openness to direct talks, telling reporters the two sides were discussing a possible conversation.
I might talk to him, we'll see, but we're discussing that with the different staffs. We might talk about Venezuela.
As November draws to a close, the Caribbean remains on edge, with massive military forces arrayed on both sides and the prospect of either war or diplomacy still very much in the balance.